everyone. We are live as promised. This is going to be a regular feature that we'll now do on NIJ, your platform for Muslims will be getting an alternate piece of land, says the Supreme Court. The Sunni Waqf Board to be granted 5-acre land in a suitable prominent place in Ayodhya is what the Supreme Court has said. And yes, I'll continue to look at live output that right now I'm looking at coming in from the Dera Baba Nanak, because that is where the Prime Minister, remember, is right now. The inauguration of the Kartarpur Sahib corridor, immensely important, very, very significant. And yes, I will try to take some of your questions as we are live on different platforms right now. And as I promised, we'll do it more often. Now, remember, it also says the Supreme Court that the Centre now will be framing a scheme under which it will constitute a trust within 3 months and hand over the inner and the outer court to the trust. The Supreme Court has granted the entire 2.77 acre of disputed land in Ayodhya to the deity Ram Lalla. This is extremely important. Do remember, there is in Allahabad, the High Court judgment that the Supreme Court does not agree with. The balance of probabilities, it says, show Hindus continue to worship uninterrupted in the outer courtyard despite putting a brick wall at the site. The Muslims were unable to prove they were an exclusive possession of the inner courtyard. The Nirmohi Akhada, the Supreme Court says, should be granted representation in trusts to be constituted by the government. It also says that the Nirmohi Akhada is not a Shaivite. It says Ram Janmabhoomi is not a juristic person. The Supreme Court has also opined on the ASI report, that is the Archaeological Survey of India report. It says that the ASI report leads to conclusion that the Babri Mosque was not constructed on vacant land. Very, very important. And even as I speak to you, remember, we are looking at the entire Ayodhya judgment that is out. It runs into more than 1,000 pages. This again tells you so much of effort, so much of thinking, I think, has gone into this entire judgment, something where the courts have seen everything. They've gone through all documents that possibly have been presented before them. Any evidence that each side has presented has been looked at, perused by the Supreme Court very, very carefully. This is why it becomes very important. So this is, viewers, an entire judgment that runs into more than 1,000 pages that now lose in the place. Very significant. Do remember, this is actually going to be a piece of so much importance, this entire order, where the Supreme Court, remember, is going bit by bit into every detail before it arrives at this unanimous judgment, extremely significant. The Supreme Court also accepts the High Court view that idols were placed inside the central dome of the Babri Masjid on December the 22-23, the intervening night in the year 1949. Now, look at this. You have, I will not even want to go into the politics of this, but we look at all angles. Right now, the idea is to ensure that we are able to decode what has the Supreme Court said in its judgment so far. So once more, I quickly want to update for you viewers, because again, this is a story, as I said, that I as a journalist have reported on, and every time I used to think, where will we see a closure? This is the closure. This is the closure. The Supreme Court looking at all sides. It's effectively very patiently heard all sides. Marathon hearing is what you've seen coming in from the court. The court says that the suit by Nirmohi Akhada was time barred. The findings of the ASI report cannot be brushed aside as conjecture. The ASI report says that Babri Masjid was not built on a vacant piece of land. It says the underlying structure was not of Islamic origin. I think this is extremely significant. It also goes on to underscore that the ASI report was not conclusive as to whether the underlying structure was a Hindu temple. The mere existence, the Supreme Court says, of a structure beneath the mosque cannot lead you to a title for Hindus now, even if the structure is found to be of a Hindu origin. The faith of Hindus that the place is the birthplace of Lord Ram, the Supreme Court says is undisputed. The Supreme Court is using the word undisputed. The Ram Janmabhoomi, it says, has no juristic personality, but Ram Lalla, the deity, has juristic personality. Very significant. Then it goes on to say that the suit by the Sunni Waqf Board is maintainable, not barred by limitation. The Sunni Waqf Board, remember, has not been able to prove adverse possession. There is evidence to show that the Hindus had been visiting the premises prior to 1857. And yes, as I said, I'm again reiterating and re-emphasizing a lot of these points because these are very, very, very significant, in today's day and time. This tells you that how closely and in how many details has the Supreme Court actually gone into this entire issue. It also now says that there is clear evidence to show that Hindus worshipped in the outer courtyard of the disputed site. As regards the inner courtyard, there is no evidence ensued by the Sunni board to show exclusive possession prior to the year 1857. Supreme Court says the Allahabad High Court was wrong in splitting the properties into three, giving each party 1/3 share. It says it was not a partition suit. Very, very important observation that the Supreme Court again has made. The Supreme Court now has granted the entire 2.77 acre area of disputed land to the deity, to Ram Lalla. The apex court has directed the centre and the UP government now to allot 5 acres of land to the Muslims for building this mosque. The court has instructed the government that the allotted land should be at a prominent place. The Supreme Court has directed centre now to set up a trust within 3 months to formulate a scheme for the construction of a Ram temple at the site where Babri Masjid was demolished. The court also said that the centre could grant representation to the Nirmohi Akhada in the trust if it deems fit. So very, very important details, and I think this is the reason why it's important to understand the nuances, the various layers to this entire story. And unfortunately, I'm not able to take your questions right now because I'm also looking at a lot of live updates right now coming in from the court. And if you just look at, I think the BJP leaders have started to speak on the entire issue. But yes, the Union Home Minister right now, Amit Shah, has also taken to Twitter. In fact, he's just tweeted where he is not just appealing for peace and for calm, but he says Shri Ram Janmabhoomi पर सर्वसम्मति से आए सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के फैसले का मैं स्वागत करता हूँ. The first reaction, the first important big reaction right now is coming in from the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who's tweeted on the entire issue, and he says मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि सर्वोच्च न्यायालय द्वारा दिया गया ऐतिहासिक निर्णय. He goes on to speak about how important this is. Remember, for all of us also as a country today, to think about this not just in, I think, words. When we say that India is a country which has unity in diversity, this is the time to walk the talk. Because this actually shows you that India is capable of doing that. Amit Shah, in fact, has just tweeted, and I quote him here. He says, Shri Ram Janmabhoomi कानूनी विवाद के लिए प्रयासरत सभी संस्थाएं, पूरे देश का संत समाज और अनगिनत अज्ञात लोगों जिन्होंने इतने वर्षों तक इसका प्रयास किया, मैं उनके प्रति कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करता हूँ. So, and he does, in fact, remember, appeals to all people to maintain peace and harmony. He talks about Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. So, very, very important, very significant. As I said, this should bring closure. I believe this should bring closure. It's a wonderfully nuanced judgment. It's looking at all angles. It's looking at a lot of concerns, remember, that have been raised by all sides. And I think no one should complain. And, I must ask you this. What is the first emotion? The first emotion today that comes to your mind, even as you look at this? Amit Shah says, Shri Ram Janmabhoomi पर सर्वसम्मति से आए सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के फैसले का मैं स्वागत करता हूँ. He goes on to say, मैं सभी समुदाय और धर्म के लोगों से अपील करता हूँ कि हम इस निर्णय को सहजता से स्वीकारते हुए शांति और सौहार्द से परिपूर्ण एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत के अपने संकल्प के प्रति कटिबद्ध रहे. I think some lovely words, and words, I think again that speak about the intent. And as I said, the story will obviously have a lot of angles to look at. Obviously, the takeaways that what I've discussed with you, and as I said, it's always nice to meet you live here. It's a promise that we'll do this live more often, so that we interact on issues that matter to you. And issues, remember that you are not able to see very often on mainstream media, but issues that concern you. So what you can also do is in the comment section, let us know your feedback. What are issues that you believe should be touched? Issues that you believe should be spoken about in more clarity, issues that you would want to hear about. If you also have a story to tell, because this is also your platform, so do share all those concerns, all those feedback, the ideas, the suggestions with us. But this is a verdict for India's unity. This is what the Union Home Minister Amit Shah has to say, and I think it's very, very important again for all of us to know this, to remember this, and to ensure that we follow this in letter and in spirit. And through this day, I think today you will hear a lot of reactions. You will, get to see a lot more details as we break down. And as I said, this is an entire verdict that is going into about 1045 pages. So, what we'll do is we'll also go through this, and I'm personally also looking at what's been happening in Kartarpur. The Prime Minister has just inaugurated the Kartarpur Sahib corridor. In fact, he just is at the inauguration. He was just speaking at Dera Baba Nanak, where again he had some very important words to share with all of us. It's a big day. It's a big day. Let this sink in. Let there be no more disputes. Let there be peace. Let all of us come together as one. I think it's very important for us to look at that. Right now, the Prime Minister, as I said, has also spoken about how you will be looking at better facilities for pilgrims at the Kartarpur Sahib corridor. And as I said, in case you do not know what the corridor is all about, don't go anywhere. Just scroll down the timeline of NIJ here if you're joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. And you will see a primer that we have put in specially for you, telling you of the backstory, what happens today, and also about what to expect in the future. But I think it's very, very important today that you have seen these two important stories. The Kartarpur Sahib corridor, the inauguration, and also about the Ayodhya verdict. Amit Shah says, and I'll, want to quote him here. दशकों से चले आ रहे श्री राम जन्मभूमि के इस कानूनी विवाद को आज इस निर्णय से अंतिम रूप मिला है. So yes, there is a sense that this brings closure. And as I said, it's a beautifully nuanced judgment. If you just begin to go through it, Amit Shah says, मैं भारत की न्याय प्रणाली व सभी न्यायमूर्तियों का अभिनंदन करता हूँ. Yes, give it to them because they've worked really hard. They've heard all sides. They've sat non-stop. Remember, as we've seen those marathon hearings, more reactions will continue to come in, but it's time for me to say thank you and goodbye to you right now here on these platforms of the NIJ, with a promise that we will meet again. We'll meet again very soon. Do subscribe to our channel where you will see, as I said, these are the change makers. The change makers is also what you will see here on NIJ. And as I said, in the comment section, please drop in your feedback, your ideas, your stories that you would want us to look at very, very closely here. And we'll look at that. We'll next time also take your questions. For the moment, it's time for me to say thank you and goodbye. And as I said, do remember, India is a country that not just speaks about unity in diversity, but we practice it. So big day today. And let's get back to looking at more details that continue to come in, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
एंड कर दिया